What's your market feeling these days? Before we get to your picks, how are you feeling about the market? Because you were someone who was trying to short a little bit, now you're more long. I mean, what's the mentality?
Yeah, last time I was on the show, it said, that basically I think rally is going to be sold. And I still think that the S&P will get down to that 2,700 level. But if you look, when we have these down days that are down 700 points and 800 points.
Yeah, like last week.
And they close on the lows, you usually get more follow through for at least a couple of days before you start to rebound up. But now we see this rebounding up. So I look at it and I think about it rationally. And I look at it as basically like interest rates on a 10-year is 1.4. So if you manage money, you can only put money in the stock market. You have to put money in stocks because the stock market was up 19%, sold off 3%, so it's up 16%. The 10-year is getting you 1.4. After inflation, you're actually going to be down 1% because inflation is about 2.4. So basically, with rates being as low as possible, you have to put money in the stock market if you're managing money, versus what's going on in China, which is terrible. So you have this basically this equilibrium between the China trade deal, which I think is bad for the economy, which I think will eventually get sorted out. And I think that President Trump knows if he wants to win presidency, he has to get a deal done by the end of next year. So I don't think right now he's really worried about it. Stock market's only off 3% from the high, still up 16% this year.
Yeah.
I think we can see more downward pressure, and then eventually a deal will happen, and then I think we're eventually going to close on the highs as we get to election next year.
You're sounding very logical, and that's how you're supposed to invest, right? It's not supposed to be emotional or anything like that. I mean, you're trying to just say the obvious, right? Like, people don't think about it, but if you really sell off in a big way and they buy them back, that's a really nice bullish sign. Let's get to some of your goodies here. First of all, Kohl's, I know that you have some stock picks here, but Kohl's, you had a thought on it last time, and they came out with the numbers. What was your reaction to the current quarter?
Yeah, so Kohl's was actually really interesting. Pre-market, the stock went from 48 to 51.5. I unfortunately did not get out of my long position. I had option position. I'm 95% derivative or option based, which is why I trade through the platform.
Right. And I love that.
So I trade a lot of options. So I knew what my risk and my reward was. I bought some weekly calls. It looked like the report was good, went up to 51.5. Then maybe when TJ Maxx reported, because they reported after Kohl's this morning, and that sold off, it moved down with it, and then it got down to 46. So the options I have, unfortunately, are going to expire worthless. On to the next trade. So, in this market, I'm always long, but I'm stock specific. Last time I was on the show, I talked about Sony. We saw, huge institutional buyers of October 60 calls. Sony trade worked out. CCK
let's check out Sony. We're going to look at the stock here. So this is one that you still like now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the long term, when we talk about, and first of all, technology, it's in a technology group overall. I don't know, when we think of technology, we're always thinking of the semis and other things, but here's a look at Sony. So it's trading at 55.73, relatively flat today. So what is your recommendation right now, or what did you experience?
So what I saw is, the way that I trade is I watch institutional order flow in the option market. So last time I was on the show, the stock was around 53.50, and someone came in, we have no idea this trader's stock position or what they have on against it, but they bought the October 60 calls, and they bought like 10,000 of these. It was about an $800,000 bet some institution put on. So then I usually just follow in the institutional order flow into the option market. Those worked out. I still have a small position on in that one, but I still think it can get through 60. Obviously, Sony's going to move with the market. Everything's more or less correlated, but I think, the energy names have gotten beaten down. I think those are actually going to get sold on rallies. You see Apple is just relentless. It's just going to continue to go higher. There's an iPhone announcement next week. You talked about it being up 1% today. I think the iPhone announcement probably will be positive.
September, right? Isn't that the all-new iPhone?
Yeah, I thought it was like, maybe it's in 2 weeks.
Okay.
They're going to announce something about the iPhone. So, and there's $6 billion in content because they're going to try to compete against Disney. So Apple continues to move up, and I think this is kind of like a stock picker's market because there's random days where the S&P's pretty much flat, like today. Maybe we're down 6 or 8 points, but you have individual stocks that are lower and individual stocks that are higher.
And that's what makes the market exciting. You never say it's a quiet day. You look at the specific stocks.
Baidu up today on earnings. That took all the Japanese
Baidu was
up.
a good one. And people say, a lot of the traders that I've worked with say don't short Apple in the back half of the year going into the holidays, because everybody goes in and then they buy everything Apple for the holidays. So they always say that. What about a name like Crown Holding?
I had a position on that. I've traded it before, so I'm a lot in and out of positions. I probably have about 12 long positions on it right now. I have one short position, which is an energy name. It's VST. I've tried to sell a rally on that one. We saw institutional order flow in Kraft. and I'm long some calls on that. That's not working out well. That's going on a 52-week low. So Warren Buffett, he's one of the best investors in history.
He must be livid.
I mean, but he's long so much Apple. As long as Apple goes up, I don't think it matters. I mean, Kraft went from 100 to now it's 25.20.
Yeah.
It went ex-dividend today, but we saw big buyers the September 27 calls. I thought maybe it would be Warren Buffett, but the stock continues to move lower. So very stock specific. Stocks that are weak continue to get weaker, like the energy names, and Apple just continues to go higher.
Quick thought on Microsoft. That was one that you were in and that you liked, right?
Yeah, Microsoft's been working out well. I mean, I think Microsoft's one of those great companies for the future. That's a technology play. They seem to always do well on earnings. I think 6 of the last 8 quarters, the stock has moved up on earnings. Microsoft, I actually took off my position today when the futures were unchanged because there were some weekly calls, but Microsoft's one I like. I always like Micron, AMD. I always watch for institutional order flow in those as well because those tend to work well. We saw buyers in Micron weekly calls. Those doubled in value. There were 44 calls. So I'm always watching institutional order flow to decide what I want to particularly trade.
That's amazing. So here at the end of the day, I mean, do you watch the market on close orders? Are you nervous that you're away from your computer right now?
To be honest, I trade for about an hour every day. So I trade the opening bell, which is usually when the most action is. I will revisit some of the institutional order flow the next day, but we're in a market where about 95% of all trading is almost electronic based nowadays, which is, good. And this is the best time ever for a retail trader because the market is liquid and you can get in and out of positions. Like if I wanted to take off Microsoft today, it was 1 penny wide, 200 up. When I used to trade on the trading floor, we were 10 cents wide. So this is the best time ever for a retail trader. So you can get in and out of positions very easily.
For everybody that long the market, they long to be you, right? Come in, just be smart. Do the not just stocks, but using options. Trade an hour a day and then go have a nice lunch.
Yeah, and then come here and interview.
It's great to see you, Andrew.
Thank
you so much. Andrew Keene, President and CEO of Alpha Shark Trading. Nice to see you.